Hiya, my name's David. I'm the Wandering Ponderer. And guess where I am today? Today I'm at Grange Barn. Thanks to the National Trust for allowing me to film inside. I've just been on an experience, which if you come down this way, book yourself an experience online and you'll get to know all sorts of things about the barn and its history. But just have a little look at the area. I'll take you round the barn. We'll go in. First thing that greets you at the door is a display cabinet full of tiles. Tiles that the Cistercian monks were involved in making. Bricks from Abbey Kiln, roof tiles, medieval floor tiles, and information about the Cistercian brick and tile making. You get to see some of the equipment that would have been resident in this barn through the passage of time. And of course, under the ever watchful eye, this tells you a little bit about how the barn was restored, but see how magnificent it is. The rafters.
I'll have to phone you back. All right. Bye. Bye.
And here we have a lot of information on the history of the barn and in connection with the abbey. "800 years of farming and under another watchful eye An aerial view. And as the barn fell into disrepair over the years, to it being eventually just a wreck, you come on the experience, you'll learn all about the cries for help and restoring it, and the story of how a farmer wanted to pull it down, but it was rescued. As we said in a previous video, it is one of the oldest barns in Europe. And these are the men to be thankful for its restoration, the craftsmen who put it back together. A local landmark. Back in the day, a view across the bridge to the barn, a view of the barn from the river. And of course, its connection with the abbey. And that's a picture of the abbey as it would have looked in the day. And there's the chapel. Some examples of the jointing used in the barn. And of course, Grange Barn's World War II view from the American bombers. There's the barn. Again, under the ever watchful eyes. This is Grange Barn. Well worth a look. Well worth a look. There's a beehive. No bees in that one, but there are bees on the grounds here, because the bees in a way, have a connection here. And you won't read that in the history books, but if you look at the history of the bees in the United Kingdom and really around the world, you'll see that they have a link with Cistercians and particularly Buckfast Abbey in Devon. These are the beehives currently in use, and you can buy honey from here in the shop. The bees are out busy foraging. Buckfast Abbey, which was an abbey that was under the Cistercian order many years ago. But back in 1916, on the Isle of Wight, there was a disease that spread and almost killed off the native British black bee. There were many beekeepers that were trying to cling hold of their hives and their apiaries, I'm not too sure how you pronounce that. But needless to say, at Buckfast Abbey there was a monk called Brother Adam who was into crossbreeding bees, and they discovered that there was an Italian bee that was resistant to this disease, and they survived. Quite cleverly, the monk embarked on a program of cross-breeding these bees, which led to Brother Adam going all around the world to look at bees from different parts of the world, that in search of bees that he could use to mix with the bees that we have in this country and preserve the apiary at Buckfast Abbey. Buckfast bees are bees that have been bred from many different species, and over the years they've deliberately been given traits from other species of bee that would make them more productive, less aggressive toward the beekeeper, but more defensive when it comes to the hives being robbed by other bees and other insects that would come in there and eat the honey. And in some ways they have discovered some of these species of bee that have been bred are a little bit resistant to the varroa mite, which is a mite that's currently threatening all the bees around the world. So had Brother Adam not been involved in the breeding of the bee back in 1916, beekeeping and bees as we know it today could possibly not exist. And we worry about the threat to the bees in our day and age from the agricultural chemicals, that is, and the varroa mite, which is threatening the bees today, from the nicotine based chemicals that are used that are killing off the insects, and we're worrying about the monoculture that has spread through our era now, that is also damaging the wildlife. But thanks to the efforts of the Cistercian monks through the ages, it has led up to Buckfast Abbey in Devon and the salvation of the bees. This is the mentality behind what the monks represented, really, and the attention to detail. The monastery here farmed. The monastery had a fishing industry, and the monastery here is behind the market in the town, because they had a market here to sell their produce. And if you look in the history books about Coggeshall and Coggeshall Abbey, you'll see wonderful things, which is my fascination with the Abbey in Coggeshall and the barn here, what it represents. So that's it from me. Thanks again to all at the National Trust for allowing me to film today and going out of their way to making me welcome. Come and visit this barn. If you're in the area, it's worth a visit, and it's also worth, if you're interested in historical sites, the National Trust is a good place to go to find out where your local heritage sites are in their care, and you'll get an experience, I guarantee. Next stop, hopefully, in the future, Paycock House in Coggeshall. But until then, don't forget to do the usual things. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.